Hi, and welcome to the notes about sound integrating into our animation. And it is really cool to have sound. And as a matter of fact, my dissertation, I found that the best way to get information across to people is with animations that have sound built in. Um, some real cool sounds that you can get. They're all free, obviously, because I'm cheap. But the one thing I do need you to be aware of is please have very good virus protection. So just in case somebody somehow sneaks some virus down, that you're protected. Um, Obviously pornography is bad, music is bad, and games are bad. Those are the big three when it comes to where viruses are hanging out. And so please make sure you're protected. Uh, TV Tunes is the one I'm using. I went to J on here. You would have thought it'd be under B, but it was James Bond. And I found a sound that I really liked. Now, one of the things that's bad about this TV Tunes is they have a bunch of pop-ups. So make sure you're clicking on the right one because some of the pop-ups are kind of flaky and I'm a little nervous about them. And as a matter of fact, one of them, my virus software said, "Ooh, danger, Will Robinson." So that's what I stopped and made sure I was clicking on the right thing. But I downloaded the James Bond sound. Now I'm using Audacity. It's a nice free program that's out there. I will put a link to it, hopefully, before you see this. However, with the Creative Cloud, we have Audition. Now, I'm going to let this gentleman show you how to use Audition, and I'll let you do it. I don't like using Audition. I've had, back in the old days, some problems with it, but Audacity was free, so I figured why bother? Plus, Adobe didn't always have that. Well, here's Audacity. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up and I'm going to grab that James Bond that I downloaded. Now, one of the problems with this uh, waveform is the fact that it's way too big, way too long for what I'm going to be using. So I've been playing around with it earlier, so I know that I probably could highlight this rare, clicking and dragging and hit the delete key, and it's gone. And I might even be able to get rid of this in front there and hit delete too. And then I'll see what it sounds like. I think that's good enough, so I'm going to get rid of the rest of that too. The reason being is I don't want the file size to get too crazy because when you add sound, it just adds another level of complexity in terms of file size. So I've got what I like, so what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go File, Export Audio, Export to Computer, and then I'm going to do MP3s, although I could do WAV files. The reason I like MP3s is because it's a little bit smaller in file size. The WAV files are using the full waveform, and it's not really needed for what we're doing. So then I hit Export. I'm going to save it onto the desktop, so I'm going to click right there. I've already done it once, so it's going to ask me if I want to overwrite it, and the answer to that is yes. So now I've got my waveform that I want to use that I'm going to do. So I'm going to close out. There we go. Now, what I've done is I went File, New, just clicked on Standard Video, and then hit Create, and then I selected the size. Well, what I want to do is I'm going to come over to my Assets panel right here. I've got characters and, come on, Hippo Gun. I'm going to click and drag it right about here. Oh, maybe right about there. Or maybe right about there. And then what I'm going to do is let's hit play and see how it looks. Now it'd be so much nicer if I had some sound to add to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here and I'm going to call it sound. Now I got to decide when I want the sound to show up. Let's go all the way. There we go. Now it's going to apply it to this keyframe right here. But if I want it to come in maybe a few frames later, I just hit F6 right there. Oops, that's F8. F6. And now I've got a keyframe. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to File, Import to Stage. And since I've been saving my stuff on the desktop, I've got several of the same one, so I was just practicing, so I like to do that before I try this. I'm going to click on Open, and then now we have this waveform. So I can click on this and hit play or hit enter. Now please notice that it ends right when the animation ends. If I was to extend the animation by clicking over here and going F5, let's hit that again. Now that's some of the properties. I am going to click up here. This is where I imported it to the stage, the James Bond theme. I can have it repeat if I wanted to, or I could have it loop. And then the effects, I could have modified it, even though I've already done that in Audacity, so I could do it again here. So that's pretty cool. Now, one of the other things I wanted to show you is I'm going to add another channel of sound. It may not work the way I hope it does, but let's hit F. Let's go hit return again. I'm going to start over. There we go. Now I'm really doing this backwards because typically the best way to do this is to lay down the sound first and then get it to modify the animation so it fits a little bit better. As a matter of fact, I was just watching a documentary on Aladdin, and you know, Robin Williams is really quite the amazing comedian, and what they did there was he just did a bunch of sound clips and then they created animation to go with it. There's some sound effects that I could add to it. I am going to drag that onto the desktop, and there it added it to that timeline. So now let's see how this sounds. Did I do a good job or not? Oop, let's go back. Oh, isn't that cool? There we go. So I'm going to do another F6 for a keyframe. Well, since I've already been playing with this, I can come back here to the properties and then go CD case closed. Is that what I picked? Ah. See how that looks. And let's see if I did a good job on that. Let's hit. Good. Now, obviously, I'd want to find a better sound than that. Let's see if I can, real quick. Ooh. You know, that's the nice thing about this. industry, impact. Well, you get the general idea. There are tons and tons of sounds that I could add to this that would make it sound really, really cool. I don't want to spend the time messing with it right now, but I just did want to show you that, hey, you can have two different sounds. And shame on me, I am committing a mortal sin and I am so embarrassed. I have not saved this project, so let's go File, Save As, and then I'm going to call it James Hippo Bond. Save it as an FLA. Now, I can go and export this as a movie, which would be kind of cool. I can export it out as an animated GIF, but one problem with that, no sound. Come on, pop up. There we go. And let's see what it looks like. Oh. And we're done. Well, hopefully you had fun with this, and I want you to have fun too. You can make an ad. That's what I would prefer that you do, utilizing sound somewhere. And if you can find, like if you do for a Pepsi ad, I had a student that did a Pepsi ad, and it was just amazing. And she used some really good sound. And this is one of those things that you could send to the company that you created for and say, hey, I did this for a class project. And you never know. Good karma sometimes happens, and you get something free out of it. Like a job. You take care. Bye.